A lot shifted this month: inventory, prices, and buyer behavior. So let's break it all down in a way that actually makes sense if you're thinking about buying or selling. Let's start with the big story. Inventory actually eased this month. We're sitting at 6,471 units, which is a step down from September. And that pullback is happening because of two things shifted at the same time. New listings slowed down and sales picked up. That combination brought months of supply back to 3.5 months, down from 4 months in September. Now, that doesn't sound dramatic, but it's a signal. It tells us that demand absorbed more of the available product this month, and fewer new homes hit the market. So the upward pressure we were beginning to see on inventory didn't continue. But this is where it gets interesting. Conditions aren't the same across all property types. Detached and semi-detached homes, they're still sitting in that reasonable balance zone. But row homes and apartments, those segments are a completely different story. They're carrying elevated inventory, and in fact, October hit record high inventory levels for both row and apartment style homes. And that is starting to reshape pricing in a noticeable way. When we zoom out and look at the year so far, Calgary has recorded 20,082 sales, which is down almost 16% compared to last year. But, and this is important, it's still aligned with long-term trends. The pullback isn't coming from every type of home. It's mainly coming from apartment and row-style properties. And according to Krebs' chief economist, one of the biggest reasons is the improvement in the rental market. We've seen better rental supply and easing rents, which has naturally slowed down ownership demand in those lower price segments. When renting becomes a little easier and a little cheaper, some buyers pause their plans to purchase, and you see that reflected directly in the sales numbers. Now, let's talk about prices, because this is the part most people care about. The total residential benchmark price in Calgary for October is sitting at $568,000. That's a drop of almost 1% from last month, and a little over 4% lower than last year. But just like with inventory, not all property types are behaving the same way. Detached and semi-detached homes are holding fairly steady because supply and demand are more balanced there. The pressure is coming from the other half of the market. Row homes are down about 6% year over year. Apartments are down 7% year over year. And again, this ties back to that excess supply. When buyers have more options, especially in the lower price brackets, prices soften. Nothing dramatic, but enough to shift the tone of the market. So if you're a buyer, here's what this all means for you. If you're looking for a row home or an apartment, you finally have more leverage than you've had in the last couple of years. More inventory means more choice, less pressure, and more negotiation room. But keep in mind, the best presented properties still move quickly. Balanced market doesn't mean slow market. If you're looking at a detached or semi-detached home, expect a more stable environment. Homes aren't flying off the shelf, but they're definitely still moving if priced correctly. For sellers, strategy is everything right now, especially in those high inventory segments. If you're selling a row home or an apartment, you need to lean into pricing, presentation, and timing, because buyers have choices and their expectations are higher. If you're selling a detached or a semi-detached property, the conditions are more forgiving, but correct pricing is still absolutely key. Buyers today are informed. They know when the listing is overpriced. And here's my take, what I'm actually seeing day to day. Homes that are priced right and show beautifully are still attracting strong interest in the first couple of weeks. But especially in the apartment and row market, buyers are being way more selective. A listing that it's not well prepared, even if it's priced fairly, can sit longer because buyers know they can wait for something that checks more boxes. On the detached side, motivated buyers are still out there making moves. The demand hasn't disappeared, it's just that they're more thoughtful and less rushed. So that's your Calgary market update for October. If you're thinking about buying or selling in the next few months, and you want to understand how these trends affect your specific situation, just reach out. I'm always here to help you make a smart, confident move in this market.